Hi and welcome to Jessie James Beads. My name is Jem and I'm here with you on the Summer Bead Blast. This week's challenge is Dangle Your Design. Now dangles can be used for anything in jewellery making and home decor. For instance, you could have dangly earrings, or you could have some dangly charms, or you could add dangles onto almost any part of your design. Let's head down to the board and take a quick look. I've chosen to work with the Magical Mystery Bead Box for June, which is Howdy Howdy Howdy. Let's have a look. The Magical Mystery Bead Box for June is Howdy Howdy Howdy, a distinctly Western flavour. And let's have a look at the bead mix I've chosen to work with. Let's just spill them all out. Gorgeous collection as always with Jessie James Beads Magical Mystery Bead Box. This is a fabulous interpretation of turquoise tones and beautiful sunset oranges. Let's just leave those there for a hot minute and let's have a look at what we're going to create together. So I thought we could create a couple of different dangles to go on our charm bracelet. So what I have done is a little bit of a rosary link on either end, taking in one of these super beautiful bi-colour beads, or tricolour if you take the base colour, on either end of a length of gorgeous Jessie James Beads heart chain, and then I've added a series of dangling designs. To keep everything super simple, I am going to be working in 18 gauge round wire. This is a medium to soft temper. You can work with either a fairly hard, medium or soft. It doesn't really matter. It all ends up the same, and I'm going to show you how to work hard on it if it is a little bit soft. So why don't we start with approximately 4 inches of wire. And we're going to make this beautiful heart-shaped dangle design. So as always, we're going to make sure that there are no jagged edges by trimming away the ends of the wire with the flush side of your cutters. And then we're going to give that a quick warm through. It is still quite toasty warm in the UK today, so not going to struggle making that super flexible. So let's add some spiralling on one end. So using those round nose pliers to get a nice spiral started. Turn that over on its side, and then what we're going to do is to turn that around so that the edge of the wire is just forming around the inner section. So I've got 2 turns of wire just here, 2 circles going around. Just going to give that a little bit of extra heat before we pop in the base of that heart shape. Now it's upside down at the moment, but I'm tipping it towards the light so you'll be able to see what's going on. And if I just pop the wire back up in this direction using my bent chain nose pliers, you can see we've got almost a heart shape going on already. So if I just flip this over so that the double coil is on my most dominant side, I'm just going to push that gently over to soften the shape, soften the edge of that heart. We're going to now try to recreate that beautiful swooshing arc shape on the far side. So a little bit of warmth again. Now you can use a round form dowel chopstick or your bent chain, sorry, not your bent chainers, your round nose pliers, or you could grab hold of your bail making pliers if you have them. We're just trying to recreate that lovely soft flowing lobe of the heart. So you can make these asymmetric as well if you prefer to. And again, I'm just going to soften that edge just by tipping the top section over. Draw the wire back up and away now. So if I pinch that very firmly in the middle, I'm going to push that wire back up so that it sits up in the middle of that heart design. Now what I like to do is just tighten this angle up a bit. So I'm going to pinch very, very firmly and then just draw those 2 pieces of wire slightly closer together and pull that all back into the centre. So you can have whichever bead draws your eye. I really like it by using the drop shaped bead, but upside down to how we normally associate using a drop, because it sits really nice into the cleft of those 2 halves of the heart. And then we're going to add a simple loop up at the top. So if I pull the wire just away from the top of the bead, you can protect the top of the bead if you wish, just pull the wire towards you. So you've got an angle coming away, and then we're going to grab those round nose pliers to create a half circular form to begin with, and then we'll draw that wire around underneath to create that complete circle. Now if you're looking to go for a very secure design with your dangle, you can feed this loop onto your chain already. I'm not planning on wearing my charm bracelet to a rock concert, so I don't anticipate a huge load being placed on these. However, if you want that extra added security, you can go for a wrapped loop, which I showed you last time I was here with you. Let's trim away that end section. If you like the look of Howdy Howdy Howdy, there's an unboxing video over on my YouTube channel. Do feel free to check it out. The Magical Mystery Bead Box every month gives you a whole raft of design inspiration. What I'm doing now is just squishing closed over that loop to give it some extra strength. And the more times you do that, the stronger it gets. So give that 6 or 7 really good pinches. Then what we're going to do is open that loop up as if it's a jump ring, like so. So you can see we now have a gap, and we can add that anywhere we fancy onto our charm bracelet. So if I pop this one into the end of one of these little heart chain links, and then what I need to do is close up that loop, and then I'll show you how to do a slightly different dangle and talk about an options to make them super dangly. Well, here we are. Let's just pop that back up into the corner for now. So we've added another little dangle onto our charm bracelet. I showed you quite recently how to make a spiral drop charm. I'd like to show you how to change that up slightly today. Again, we're going to start by making sure that the end of our wire is nice and trimmed flush, and then I'm going to grab my chain nose pliers. We're going to start by putting a very, very firm angle in on that wire, like so. And if you want that to be slightly harder in terms of the angle, it's quite a soft angle initially, I'm just going to close that up, open it and close it again, and you'll find that it slightly refines the shape that we're creating. Now the next side of my triangle I want to be just ever so slightly longer. You can be scientific, mathematical and measure that if you want to. And then the third side needs to be just a little bit longer too. So again, if you wanted to refine that angle, you can just open it out, close it up, and you will just refine it ever so slightly. So when we get to the third bend, what we're looking to do is take the wire around the outside as if we're building a coil, but today we're building a slightly triangular coil. So I'm going to switch back to my trusty bent chain nose pliers because I can hold the project from underneath and show you slightly more easily. Pull that wire around so it's skirting around the outside now of a slightly triangular form. And we're going to continue doing that until we have 2 wraps, just the same way as we would a normal spiral, as we did on the round side of the spiral at the heart-shaped drop dangle. And then we're going to bring that wire all the way back up to the start point. Once we've got that 2 trips around, and it gets slightly less hard corners as you go towards the edges, we're going to pull the wire away in a straight line and give that a really firm squish. Now if you have a block and hammer, if you joined us for summer camp in last year in 2022, you may still have your block and hammer. Just going to give that a bit of a squish to strengthen it all up slightly. Now we can add any bead that we fancy. So in the design I'm showing you just here, I added one of these little rose beads. But let's do something different, shall we? Let's see. How about one of these fabulous 2-tone cube beads? And then let's have a look and see if these little blue ones go on. I think it will, but I don't want to take my chances, so let's pop a spacer in. We'll go for a spacer, and then we'll go for another bead. So there's a really gorgeous collection of beads that you can work with. Now if you want your dangle to be even more dangly, you can add in small offcuts of chain. Let's see what I've got in my pot over here. There's a couple of bits of chain available to me. So why don't we make a simple loop again? I'm going to protect that bead with my thumbnail, bring the wire towards me, pop those out of the way for just a second, and rotate those pliers around to give me that little round, simple loop shape. Give that a quick trim and reserve the wire. We're going to do the exact same thing as we did before, which is to strengthen that loop. Squishy, squishy. Open the loop up. Pop it onto whichever piece of chain we want to help our dangle become even more dangly. It's a super dangle. and make sure that that cut end of the wire meets the angle at the top of the bead there. Give it a squish to make sure it's nice and secure, and then you can add this onto your chain. You can either use a jump ring, obviously that's quite a long dangle so it would make a really beautiful earring, or you could go for a simple rosary link. So that is my inspiration using the Howdy 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 box for Dangle Your Design.